Cities Skylines 2 has just dropped its biggest patch update yet. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the various and wonderfully necessary fixes and improvements that Colossal Order have just rolled out in Cities 2, with time cards below and vital information up on screen if you'd like to read along or get a little bit of extra detail, as well as gameplay from the patch that I've just recorded this morning. Let's jump in and take a look. We're going to start with the gameplay fixes, and I have to say, there are some things that I've been waiting for a while, and some things that I think you will be really pleased about. Starting with the mail system. They have essentially, inside of the mail system, ensured that it actually works properly, that collections and deliveries can happen at the same time, and they've fixed global mail sorting as well. Jumping into the detail, they've fixed the issue where citizens didn't have destinations when sending mail. Postal vans can now deliver or collect mail from target buildings if the path access was maybe a little bit finicky. There were certain configurations that just didn't work. They've ironed that out. They've also made sure that postal vans can collect mail from buildings if they are also delivering mail to that building at the same time. Our posties now capable of doing both functions. And finally, the larger mail sorting facility, that postal sorting facility, is now actually able to export global mail, something it was previously unable to do. And I'll talk a little bit at the end of the video about my playtesting experience with the patch 2, but before that, we've got plenty more to discuss. Let's talk about the other big headlining fix of the patch update. That was storage, transfer, industrial capacity, cargo stations, a lot of stuff in and around goods production. In short, cargo stations work a lot more like trains and harbours now. We have less storage capacity with better pathing, and overall you should see more production, less storage, and more exports in your cities. Diving into the detail a little bit, at storage transfer sites, they've made some key adjustments. Industrial companies' production efficiency's been adjusted so that they'll be able to produce more products and increase your export goods. They've also adjusted spawning around them too. Storage companies will spawn less than storage capacity demand. This will also have the effect of increasing goods to export. As I say earlier, cargo stations have been brought into line with harbours and train terminals. This is at a high level talking about their stock levels, when they will either import goods to stock up or export goods to, well, get rid of the crap that you've created. They'll now function in line with harbours and train terminals. And of course, the detail as it's on screen is also linked below. I'm always cautious and careful to try and link all of the sources in the description. The final thing in and around a storage transfer of goods was basically less storage, better pathing. Storage companies will spawn less than the current producing capacity to increase your exports. They've also improved pathfinding to include storage and cargo stations as actually valid import candidate targets. So they'll be recognized and registered in that way now. And that comes alongside actually some other improvements to pathfinding. Moving slightly along, they've improved overall pathfinding, preventing citizens from reserving homes from disconnected buildings or moving into a city that's not connected to your one at all. Furthermore, they've increased the pathfinding penalty for illegal pedestrian crossing, so maybe a little bit less jaywalking going on, and finally fixed several instances of vehicles just getting stuck. There are also some rapid-fire miscellaneous gameplay fixes before we move on to talk about building and construction, graphics, and UI fixes. Plenty more to cover. Let me roll through these that didn't quite fit so well anywhere else. They've fixed the following things. Roads shown as inaccessible in the build menu can be used when the player has a low budget. That one, gone. Hydropower plants have also been fixed. They used to increase their output when the simulation speed was increasing. The two were somehow tied together. They've also improved water flow update when terraforming anyway, hopefully in preparation for an editor that will be rolling out soon. And three more fixes here in this rapid fire section. They've fixed the fact that signature buildings, some of them weren't giving you any experience. The coal power plant not importing resources from nearby harbours. And finally, they fixed the issue where citizens would go to industrial zones to shop. inside of factories instead of going to commercial zones. You do you. The kind of janky roads, particularly key roads or in and around areas where elevation changes, sometimes drastically, sometimes even just a little bit, can screw it up. Fixes around building and construction. There are really only 2 of them. It wasn't a huge focus by the looks, but worth noting that they've fixed multiple issues relating to construction in and around multi-level roads, elevated roads over water or bridges. And they've also improved their elevated road construction. Again, not specifically bridges, but just roads that you've raised up to maybe go over a railway line or go over another road that's running perpendicular to it. They'll now require more pillars, so they'll look a little bit different. Not huge there. Let's move through and talk about graphics. While we certainly don't need to open this discussion with another debate around left-hand traffic, my left-hand traffic kings will be particularly pleased with this section of graphical fixes. Firstly, they've improved terrain smoothing for networks and for large buildings. I look forward to seeing how that one specifically plays out. Everything else here is a fix. On the topic of left-hand traffic, forward road arrows on building lots were sometimes incorrect in left-hand traffic mode, and the dam, the net part only, faced the wrong way. Those 2 issues have been fixed. Inside the North American theme, the international airport was missing some bus stops. That one's been addressed. Trees sticking out of the river in the main background image, if that was particularly bothering you, has been addressed. And finally, buildings missing road arrows and some other props, depending on their selected theme, has been fixed as well. So maybe your buildings will look a little bit more proppy, and if you're playing on the King's left-handed traffic mode, then you might see that looking a little bit smoother too. Not massive performance fixes, not massive upgrades potentially to how Cities Skylines 2 runs. We'll talk about that at the end of this video. The final 2 sections of the patch notes, UI fixes and other fixes, are perhaps less important, but we're still going to quickly cover them off before some final reflections. On the UI side of things, here they all are on your screen. They've improved the select info panel and info view panels. Also, the sorting of households, citizens sorted by age in households, single-family homes selected on the info panel sidebar, and also households sorted by member count in that same panel. Some fixes around photo mode, customer info views for low customers, terrain color was inconsistent, and a little bit more in and around a UI error, which was appearing sporadically when loading a save. And in the final section, a grab bag of assorted random things. They've fixed many of the achievements, prefabs not unlocking correctly, the cinematic camera data not resetting, object base mesh not being visible if the main object was out of your camera's viewpoint, some of the forestry areas, forest forder, say that 5 times fast, which wasn't playing the engine sound, has been adjusted, and as you can see, a variety of other things, from the education tutorial to optimizing XP calculations. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of what has undeniably been the biggest patch update we have seen yet for Cities Skylines 2. Obviously, the big focus here was around fixes and improvements. Almost every single entry on this list had those things. If you've been following my videos recently, since Cities 2 came out, you'll know that the developers have been signaling for a couple of weeks now that the patches will slow down, increase in size, and focus more on some of the deeper issues like the simulation not working properly, like performance and bug fixes. And it seems clear to me that in this update they have absolutely nailed a whole load of bug fixes that were vital and necessary, and it's wonderful to see. And in my experience, most of them are playing out. I couldn't quite get the global mail exporting to work as well as I would have hoped, but outside of that, I haven't found any issues. I'd love to hear yours in the comments below if you have or have not found any issues in this update. But it also brings me to, I suppose, my final point. Is this the big one? They said that there would be one big patch update in December. At the time of recording this video, it's the 2nd of December for me, NZST. Could this be the last patch for the year? I lean towards probably not. They said that they still had a few more weeks left at work, probably 2 more weeks, maybe 3 before they break for the holidays, I think we could still see one more update yet. However, Colossal Order didn't acknowledge it one way or the other inside of this update. So, I predict we'll find out more next week, early next week, when they release another Word of the Week. I'll be sure to cover that and keep you updated as we move forward. Thank you so much for joining me today for Cities Skylines' largest patch update yet, and I'll see you next time.